Okay, here we go. This is session number 99 of Kevin Reads A Course in Miracles. Okay. I like reading A Course in Miracles. It's like this fabulous poem that gets deeper and deeper as you read it and let it wash over you. It brings you into a greater depth of mind. So, let us continue. As we say, session 99, we're on page 250 of the text, chapter 13, entitled The Guiltless World, and section number 6.VI is called Finding the Present. All right? We're not talking about looking under the Christmas tree. All right? Finding the present moment. To perceive truly is to be aware of all reality through the awareness of your own. But for this, no illusions can rise to meet your sight. For reality leaves no room for any error. This means that you perceive a brother only as you see him now. His past has no reality in the present, so you cannot see it. Your past reactions to him are also not there. And if it is to them that you react, you see but an image of him that you made and cherish instead of him. In your questioning of illusions, ask yourself if it is really sane to perceive what was as now. If you remember the past as you look upon your brother, you will be unable to perceive the reality that is now. Alrighty then. So, to perceive is to be fully aware, to be aware of all reality through the awareness of your own. So to perceive truly, right, what Jesus will also call the real world, right, because you're still in a world of perception, right, but to perceive what your senses are reporting to you, perceiving them truly, right, is to be aware of all reality, including your own, through the awareness of your own reality, which means you are aware that you are part of the oneness. You are the part of the great expanse. Okay? However you want to envision it or describe it, it's, the indescribable being described. So you're part of the oneness. You're part of the mind of God. Right? The great expanse. Okay? The kingdom of heaven. All those things. Okay? So that's how you perceive reality truly. How you perceive truly. By being aware of who you are. All right? But he says, but in order to do this, there can't be any illusions. All right? There's no room for error. That means that you see an other, you see the other, you see your brother, the way they are now, in this moment. He's got the word now italicized here. So in this present moment, you see the other. And that is suggesting that we are looking past all the clever disguises the ego puts on. All right? And we just go through right to the fact that this other is not separate from me. We are part of the great expanse. Right? We are part of the mind of God. His past has no reality. so you cannot see it. Your past reactions to him are also not there. So we're not bringing the history with us. We're seeing in the present moment, in the realization of who I am, who you are, I see truly. Your past reactions are also not there. And if it is to them that you react, so if you're reacting to your history with this person, or even if they look like somebody, they remind you of somebody, all crazy things, the past rises up. Okay? It says you're looking at an image that you made and you cherish instead of him, who he really is. Okay? And in the metaphysics of the Course, remember that the one Son of God believed the crazy idea that he could be separate, believed he did it. Now he has to flee and make up other people and other things on which he can blame the separation, the sin. Okay? So if we see our brother's past, and that's what we're judging him on, he says, remember, you made that. Okay? That's why we constantly have to be checking ourselves and asking with sincerity, please help me to see this correctly. I don't want the conflict anymore. I don't want the hatred. I helped my brother run a business a couple of decades ago. And I was going to say a couple of years ago, but then I said, oh my God, it was about 20 years ago. And it involved a lot of people in the public. It was a fast food restaurant, big one. And we had these high school kids that would hang around, and they were just constantly up to no good. They would find all kinds of ways to get you, to give you a little dig. And this one kid, I finally got so exasperated. I called him in. I said, come here, I want to talk to you. I said to him, look, every day at 3 o'clock, you come around, and I have to remind myself why I hate you. I said, I'm tired of it. I said, there has to be a better way for us to get along here. Right? But regardless of his reaction, this is what Jesus is telling me. He says, if I'm clinging to those past reactions, every day he comes, oh, now I got to remember what he did to me yesterday and last week and, all the other days. So I have to conjure that up, bringing that history forward, and that's who I see right now. That's who I see right now. All right? And he says, if that's what you're doing, if that's what you're reacting to, he says, remember, you made that. All right? And that's part of the ego that has to project, has to find things on which it can project guilt. Right? And granted, the guy was a scutch and all that, but, I can make my way back to remembering who I am by asking Jesus, help me to see this kid, this teenager, help me to see him correctly. All right? I don't want the fights. I don't want the arguments. I'm tired. All right? And that's the process. Sincerely, you need to be asking, help me to see this correctly. Otherwise, we're reacting to somebody's history, the history you have with them. Okay? And then Jesus says, he says, in your questioning of your illusions, all right, is ask yourself, is it really sane to perceive what was as now? Okay? He says, is it really sane to see what was as now? All right? If you remember the past as you look upon your brother, you will be unable to perceive the reality that is now. Okay? And we're not only talking about the form, the physical history, right, that we have with people, right? Well, he's telling us if you remember the past as you look upon the brother, think about this deep poem here. The past represents the belief in sin, right? The belief in separation from the Godhead, the belief in separation from the source of all things, right? The belief in separation from the oneness, from the bliss, the security of the oneness, right? From the consistency of the oneness. We believe we did that. That's the past. Okay. So we're trying to find the present here. Paragraph 2. You consider it natural to use your past experience as the reference point from which to judge the present. Yet this is unnatural because it is delusional. When you have learned to look on everyone with no reference at all to the past, either his or yours as you perceived it, you will be able to learn from what you see now. For the past can cast no shadow to darken the present, unless you're afraid of light. And only if you are would you choose to bring darkness with you, and by holding it in your mind, see it as a dark cloud that shrouds your brothers and conceals their reality from your sight. Okay? He says it's truly unnatural to keep judging everyone from the past, either yours or theirs. Okay? And try to hold those two ideas in your mind, whether it's the physical past as we perceive it, or that metaphoric past, which means the moment we believed we separated from God, the moment we believed we sinned and took it very seriously, okay? He says, when you have learned to look on everyone with no reference at all to the past, right? So when you have learned to look on everyone with no reference to sin, no reference to their physical past, no reference to that metaphorical, metaphysical past. Okay? He says, when you've learned to look on everybody that way, you'll be able to learn from what you see now, in the present moment. Right? In the present moment, there is no past or future. Right? Remember, he says the ego likes to elide over the present moment, right? Just sliding the past into the future without stopping to take that holy instant, that present moment. Right? And it is to learn to look on everyone with no reference to the past. We have to learn. We have to unlearn what we've taught ourselves. Right? That projection of guilt that everybody else is guilty. All right? So we learn. And the way we learn to look on everyone with no reference to the past is by asking, help me to see correctly. by being willing to see correctly, by being willing to see the other without the idea of past, either yours or theirs. Right? In other words, without the idea of sin and guilt being projected for the sin. All right? We have to learn that. And at one point Jesus says, resign as your own teacher. You have been poorly taught. Okay. So we ask our internal teacher, help me to see. And we do that for the rest of your life. I mean, you don't have to be compulsive about it, but because Jesus and Ken would tell you, don't take things too seriously. All right. But, emotional pain, physical pain, the pain of living in this world with all the judgments, that gets difficult. So we have a desire to be free from that, to be free from the conflict. Right? And so we ask, help me to learn. Help me to learn to see everything correctly. All right? And until we can generalize, we work on the specifics in our life, specific situations or specific people, right? Specific conditions. We keep on learning until we can generalize. And in a brief moment we could say, oh, I must have chosen the wrong teacher. I don't feel comfortable. I'm not happy. I'm not peaceful. Help me to get back on the track. All right? And we can generalize that way because Jesus generalizes. There's one problem, one solution. We see myriad problems. But they all stem from the same thing, the belief that you separated from God. Right? The belief that you ruined oneness. And now you're going to get it. You feel bad because you did it, but now you know you're going to get punished. All right? So you got your friends there, sin, guilt, and fear. He says, but we have to undo that belief system. Okay? And until we can generalize, we bring up the specifics. Jesus invites us. He says, bring me every scrap. Okay? In one passage, very poetic passage, he goes, we send out the hungry hounds of hate. Right? And they return to their master with every scrap of fear. Right? And Jesus is saying, bring me those scraps. Let me retranslate that for you. Okay? And then we come into the now. So we drop all that past and we ask, how can I see this in the present moment? That's actually what we're asking when we say, help me to see correctly. Okay? So, let's just reread that sentence. When you have learned to look on everyone with no reference at all to the past, either his or yours as you perceived it, you will be able to learn from what you see now. For the past can cast no shadow to darken the present. Right? The past cannot darken the present unless you're afraid of the light. And if you are, you just look at it. So, I'm afraid. That's what happened. I was afraid of the light. And don't go beating yourself up. Don't put on any hair shirts or anything, or start self-flagellation and things like that. All right. Just notice, oh, I must have been afraid. And then go back onto the right path again. Help me to see correctly. So because the past can't cast a shadow to darken the present unless you're afraid of the light. And only if you are would you choose to bring darkness with you? All right. So only if I'm afraid of realizing who I am and who you are, only if I'm afraid of the light would I bring that bag of history with me to make sure I don't make that same mistake again. I'm not talking to him. I'm not talking to her. Look what she did to me. Right? She tossed me away like an old newspaper. All right? So you bring that darkness with you from the past. If you're afraid of letting go of things and seeing things correctly. Okay. So, only if you are afraid of the light would you choose to bring darkness with you. And by holding it in your mind, you see it as a dark cloud that shrouds your brothers and conceals their reality from your sight. So we keep referring to past hurts, offenses, all kinds of things. And we can't possibly see them as they truly are in the present moment. Because in the present moment, everyone is part of the oneness. Okay. Paragraph 3. The darkness is in you. The Christ, as revealed to you now, has no past, for he is changeless, and in his changelessness lies your release. For if he is as he was created, there is no guilt in him. No cloud of guilt has risen to obscure him, and he stands revealed in every one you meet, because you see him through himself. To be born again is to let the past go and look without condemnation upon the present. The cloud that obscures God's Son to you is past. And if you would have it past and gone, you must not see it now. If you see it now in your illusions, it has not gone from you, although it is not there. Okay. That little last sentence, it's that constant reiteration of telling us we're making this up. Okay. He says the past is not there. But if you see it, right, if you see it, it's not gone from your thoughts, although it's not there. Okay. These are the repetitions of the metaphysics and the metaphysical thought and the statements of reality that continue throughout the course until one day you go, oh, now I get it. But he says the darkness is in you. Right? There's that potential. The Christ as revealed to you now has no past. Right? For he's changeless, and in his changelessness lies your release. The Christ that's revealed to us is who we truly are. Right? And in that changelessness, it's just infinite. It has no direction, no past, present, future. It just is. It just is. And he says, and in that changelessness is your release. Your release from this silly dream. Your release from thoughts of guilt. Right. For if he is as he was created, there's no guilt in him. Okay, that's the Christ. Right? That's who you are and who the other is, because there's no separation. Right? The other is just you, projected. like in, I believe, Jung's interpretation of dreams. You know, it's all part of you. Okay. And Jung was a student of Freud. And Freud's big thing was, one of his big things was, dreams are the royal road to the unconscious. All right. And here's Jesus telling us this whole thing is a dream, bro. This whole thing is a dream. So we can use every piece of our dream to bring us to consciousness, to bring us to the realization of who we are. And we can see the Christ in the other, changeless and guiltless. Right? There's no cloud of guilt to obscure him. And he stands revealed in every one you meet. Right? Because you see him through him. Okay? You see the Christ through the Christ in your mind. Through the realization of who you are. You see everything. So the cloud that obscures God's Son to you is past. Right? And if you would have it past and gone, you must not see it now. Right? If you see it now in your illusions, it hasn't gone, although it's not there. Right? So if we see it, the process is to ask for help with it. Every scrap of fear, every little bit of anger, every twinge of annoyance. If we're not walking down the street or sitting or doing whatever you're doing, if you're not doing it with that little knowing smile on your face, right? If you're not happy, if you're not peaceful, then we need to ask our internal teacher, help me, I want to be peaceful. Help me see the world through the eyes of peace. If you see it now in your illusions, the past that is, the sin and the guilt, it has not gone from you, although it is not there. I keep repeating that because I think it's rich. It's not there. And as he'll say other places, and I'll say it again and again, you are at home in God, dreaming of exile. Okay. We continue. Paragraph 4. Time can release as well as imprison, depending on whose interpretation of it you use. Past, present, and future are not continuous unless you force continuity on them. You can perceive them as continuous and make them so for you. But do not be deceived and then believe that this is how it is. For to believe reality is what you would have it be according to your use for it is delusional. You would destroy time's continuity by breaking it into past, present, and future for your own purposes. You would anticipate the future on the basis of your past experience and plan for it accordingly. Yet by doing so, you are aligning past and future and not allowing the miracle, which could intervene between them, to free you to be born again. Okay? Ken would always admonish us to keep the metaphysics in the back of your mind at all times. All right? Jesus is not telling you not to have health insurance or car insurance or retirement accounts. All right? He's not telling you not to save for your children's college. All right? Be normal. Okay? He's just telling you that what we believe, he says you make past, present, and future continuous, like it has no break. Okay? We break it up for our own benefit. Okay? And he says you would destroy time's continuity by breaking it into past, present, and future for your own purpose. Right? He says, but by doing this, you're aligning the past and the future and not allowing the miracle, which is in the present moment. The miracle is that change of perception in the present moment. Right? He says you're not allowing that present moment, which could intervene between the past and the future and free you to be born again. Right? Free you to remember who you are in that present moment, right? In that holy instant. Okay, paragraph 5. So just before we go to paragraph 5, just to remember, he says that we can use time. All right? Time can release us as well as imprison us. All right? It depends on how you use it. Depends on whose interpretation of it. Okay? And the more we can concentrate on the present moment, bring ourselves into the present moment, the greater advances we will make toward remembering who we are, to being born again. All right? To remember, oh, I'm not Kevin. All right? I am that. All right? So, paragraph 5. The miracle enables you to see your brother without his past, and so perceive him as born again. His errors are all past, and by perceiving him without them, you are releasing him. And since his past is yours, you share in this release. Let no dark cloud out of your past obscure him from you, for truth lies only in the present, and you will find it if you seek it there. You have looked for it where it is not, and therefore have not found it. Learn then to seek it where it is, and it will dawn on eyes that see. Your past was made in anger, and if you use it to attack the present, you will not see the freedom that the present holds. All right, so the miracle, the change in perception, right, it enables you to see your brother without the past, without the guilt, without the sin, without the whatever they did to you in the past. I gave him that check to bring it home and put it in my drawer, and he went and cashed it. Okay. And we hold that grudge. All right. But without that past, if I ask, help me to see correctly, all right, in the present moment, I want that perception corrected. He says, then you perceive him as born again. You see him as he truly is. You see the innocence. You see the connection to the oneness, the connection to God. And by perceiving him this way, you're releasing him. And here's the kicker, what he always says in different ways. All right? And since his past is yours, okay, you share in this release. So by seeing the innocence in him, you see the innocence in you. All right? It's a major theme of this work. By having that change in perception, all right, I see myself. I am free. So, don't let any dark cloud from your past obscure him from you, for the truth lies only in the present. Right? The truth lies only in the present. And you'll find it if you look for it. You'll find it if you seek it there. You've looked for it where it was not. That's why you haven't found it. It says, seek for it where it is, and it will dawn on eyes that see. Right? You will have success. You will see correctly. And he says your past was made in anger. We were angry at God because he wouldn't recognize us as an individual. I said, hey, what the hell? That's all I want. Just recognize me as an individual. And there was no answer. There was no response. So we become very angry, like little kids, demanding. And so we said, okay, forget it. I'll do it myself. I'll walk out. Okay? And then all of a sudden I said, what did I do? What did I do? All right? But I was so angry that now I projected onto my father. He's a terrible father. Right? He's violent. He's aggressive. He's all kinds of things. He's just not a nice guy. Okay? And then we have to run away from him. So we make up a story that now he's a bad guy. So we run away. And here we are in this cosmos, thinking that we have to run away. So he says, your past was made in anger. And if you use it to attack the present, if you keep it up, if you keep reinforcing that idea that I am separated from this terrible God, and he's looking to kill me now. He says, if you continue to reinforce that thought, he says, you're not going to see the freedom that the present moment holds for you. You're not going to see the freedom that's in the present, in the now. Because all that stuff is made up. All that stuff is made up. Right? I remember, I don't know if I said this story once before, but I remember, I don't know, maybe I was 10 years old or something. I wanted a BB gun. And my father said, no, definitely not. It's not happening. I mean, there was not even a discussion. And I'm telling him why this and that, and these guys have one, and all my friends are getting them, and he's just, look at me, no, it's not happening. And and now I'm telling you, let's round it off. We're talking about 61, 62 years later. I can remember where I was and how angry I was. Okay? And there were two incidents like that I still remember them around that age. And what I really remember, and I apply it to sentences like this in the Course, is how self-destructive my anger is. Right? When I get angry, I can internalize it and become very self-destructive. And isn't that what the original one Son of God did, in my opinion? He said, I'll do it myself. I'll go get my own BB gun. And he went out and shot himself in the foot. And we projected out of the mind, or so we thought, and made up this cosmos. Isn't that fun? Oh my goodness. And Jesus is telling us, ask me, I'll bring you back into the present moment where you can be released from all this, because it's really an illusion. It's a dream. Okay? And I will help you come back to remember yourself. Okay? And if you use that anger to attack the present moment, you'll not see the freedom that's in the present moment. Okay? And we just ask our internal guide, okay, bring me back to who I am, please. Paragraph 6. Judgment and condemnation are behind you, and unless you bring them with you, you will see that you are free of them. Look lovingly upon the present, for it holds the only things that are forever true. All healing lies within it, because its continuity is real. It extends to all aspects of the sonship at the same time, and thus enables them to reach each other. The present is before time was, and will be when time is no more. In it are all things that are eternal, and they are one. The continuity is timeless, and the communication is unbroken, for they are not separated by the past. Only the past can separate, and it is nowhere. All right, that's a wonderful paragraph. Right? It talks about the oneness, and that there is only the present moment. And you can sit and take that in until it dawns on you. Okay? He says, judgment and condemnation are behind you. Right? Unless you choose to bring them with you. Right? You'll see that you're free of them unless you choose to bring them with you. He says, look lovingly on the present, for it holds the only things that are forever true. It says it just extends everywhere. And it enables every aspect of the sonship to communicate. And this is a line that I like, especially. He goes, the present is before time was. All right, think about that. And the present will be when time is no more. Imagine that. In it are all things that are eternal, and they are one. Their continuity is timeless. Their communication is unbroken, for they're not separated by the past. Only the past can separate, and it is nowhere. All right? Jesus is making these definitive statements, right, in his process of teaching us in a way of overlearning, saying things over and over again. He says, the past is nowhere. Okay? The present is before time was, and will be there when time is gone. Right? And in that present is where we see correctly. In that present moment is where we see the other as they truly are. And we become aware of who we truly are. Paragraph 7. The present offers you, your brothers, in the light that would unite you with them and free you from the past. Would you then hold the past against them? For if you do, you are choosing to remain in the darkness that is not there, and refusing to accept the light that is offered you. For the light of perfect vision is freely given, as it is freely received, and can be accepted only without limit. In this one still dimension of time that does not change, and where there is no sight of what you were, you look at Christ and call his witnesses to shine on you, because you called them forth. And they will not deny the truth in you, because you looked for it in them and found it there. Right? This is an extremely poetic way of describing the Course's process of forgiveness, is to see the other as they truly are, and you will be aware of who you truly are. Right? So he says, the present offers you your brothers in the light that would unite you with them and free you from your past. Okay? So he says, in this present moment, right, in paragraph 7, sentence 5, in this one still dimension of time that does not change, and where there is no sight of what you were, right, in this one moment, you look at Christ and you call his witnesses to shine on you, because you called them forth. You help me to see correctly. I'm willing to see the Christ. You're calling them forth, and they will shine on you. And they will not deny the truth in you, because you looked for it in them, and you found it there. Right? You looked for the truth in the other, and you found it there, and you found your own. Right. Paragraph 8. Now is the time of salvation, for now is the release from time. Reach out to all your brothers and touch them with the touch of Christ. In timeless union with them is your continuity, unbroken because it is wholly shared. God's guiltless Son is only light. There is no darkness in him anywhere, for he is whole. Call all your brothers to witness to his wholeness, as I am calling you to join with me. Each voice has a part in the song of redemption, the hymn of gladness and thanksgiving for the light to the Creator of light. The holy light that shines forth from God's Son is the witness that his light is of the Father. All right. You can, as you read these, you can feel yourself being lifted. Right? You can feel the burden of the ego being blown away, swept away. All right? As he says that now, the present moment, now is the time of salvation. For now is the release from time. Right? In timelessness, in timeless union with your brothers, and your continuity unbroken because it's wholly shared. All right. And each voice has a part in the song of redemption. All right. The holy light that shines forth from God's Son is the witness that his light is of his Father. All right. When you ask to see the light, when you call it forth, you will see it. Trust that. Jesus reminds us, once the journey has begun, the end is certain. All right, we just need to dedicate ourselves to it. All right, because there's the tendency to swerve off the path. You know, for those of you who are close to my generation, you might remember driving cars whose alignment was out. Right? No, you'd be holding the steering wheel, and if you didn't hold the steering wheel tight, the car would drift over into the lane one way or the other. You'd have to keep bringing it back. It would wear out your tires, but that's the way it went. But that's the way it goes with the mind. All right, we dedicate ourselves, right, to seeing correctly. Right? And in the course of the day, probably before you even brush your teeth, the alignment brings you, as Jesus would say, into the detour into fear. And the monkeys start chattering. And sooner we start to hear the monkeys, or the sooner the better, when you start hearing all the thoughts. Well, I got to do this, I got to do that, and if that's, and then she said, and then he said, and then what's that? And then what? You know, so when you realize you're not peaceful, you can steer it back, bring it back into the path. Excuse me. Paragraph 9. Shine on your brothers in remembrance of your Creator. For you will remember him as you call forth the witnesses to his creation. Those whom you heal bear witness to your healing. For in their wholeness you will see your own. And as your hymns of praise and gladness rise to your Creator, he will return your thanks in his clear answer to your call. For it can never be that his Son called upon him and remained unanswered. His call to you is but your call to him, and in him you are answered by his peace. It's just wonderful. Repeating once again, that those whom you heal by asking, help me see them correctly, right, they bear witness to your healing. You see yourself correctly. You realize who you are. For in their wholeness you see your own. It keeps repeating it, right, until, you know, it sinks in. I smile because I can hear my grandmother telling me, you're just thick. So Jesus, realizing that, keeps repeating. Right? See them correctly, you'll see yourself correctly. Okay? His call to you is but your call to him. All right? And he reassures us. He will return your thanks in his clear answer to your call, for it can never be that his Son called on him and remained unanswered. We are always answered. All right? His call to you is but your call to him. And in him, you are answered by his peace. peace is the answer that covers everything. In that peace, if we need to do something, we'll know what to do. We'll know what to say if we have to do that, while we are still in the realm of doing. All right. So here's Jesus talking very sweetly again to us. Paragraph 10, child of light, you know not that the light is in you, yet you will find it through its witnesses. For having given light to them, they will return it. Each one you see in light brings your light closer to your awareness. Love always leads to love. The sick who ask for love are grateful for it, and in their joy they shine with holy thanks. And this they offer you who gave them joy. They are your guides to joy, for having received it of you, they would keep it. You have established them as guides to peace, for you have made it manifest in them, and seeing it, its beauty calls you home. Okay, giving and receiving are simultaneous. Okay. Yet you will find it through its witnesses, for having given light to them, they will return it. Love always leads to love. The sick who ask for love are grateful for it, and in their joy they shine with holy thanks. Now we're not talking about physical form, sickness. We're talking about the belief in separation. All right. So those that believe they are separated, they ask for love, and they're grateful for it, because they believe they were separated from it. And in their joy, they shine with holy thanks. All right. And they're your guides to joy. For having received it of you, right, they would keep it. You have established them as guides to peace, for you have made it manifest in them. Right. You've made peace manifest in them, and seeing it, its beauty calls you home. Right. You want to be in that eternal bliss. The beauty of the peace calls you home. Paragraph 11, there is a light that this world cannot give, yet you can give it as it was given you. And as you give it, it shines forth to call you from the world and follow it. For this light will attract you as nothing in this world can do. And you will lay aside the world and find another. This other world is bright with love, which you have given it. And here will everything remind you of your Father and His Holy Son. Light is unlimited and spreads across this world in quiet joy. All those you brought with you will shine on you, and you will shine on them in gratitude because they brought you here. Your light will join with theirs in power so compelling that it will draw the others out of darkness as you look on them. All right. Wonderful description of the real world. All right, we'll see this. We're not quite back into the mind of God yet, but for the brief shining moment, as they say. Right? Everything will remind you of the Father. Everything in this world of form will remind you of the Father and the Son. And it spreads across the world in a quiet joy. and it will draw you into the light. Paragraph 12. Awaking unto Christ is following the laws of love of your free will, and out of quiet recognition of the truth in them. The attraction of light must draw you willingly, and your willingness is signified by giving. Those who accept love of you become your willing witnesses to the love you gave them, and it is they who hold it out to you. In sleep, you are alone, and your awareness is narrowed to yourself. And that is why the nightmares come. You dream of isolation because your eyes are closed. You do not see your brothers, and in the darkness, you cannot look upon the light you gave them. All right. So this is, you're following the laws of love, of your free will. All right? It's your choice, your decision. All right? And your willingness is signified by your giving, by you being willing to see the other correctly. Okay? So then he switches over. He goes, in sleep, this is when we're totally aligned with the ego thought system, the belief in separation from God, and all this wondrous things that we've been talking about. He says, when you're sleeping, you're alone, and your awareness is narrowed to yourself. So in this world, really, your awareness is really narrowed to yourself. Unless we make that conscious effort, help me to see things correctly. He says, but when you're just only concerned with yourself, the nightmares come. All right? You dream of isolation because your eyes are closed. Right? You're not asking to see correctly. You do not see your brothers, and in the darkness you cannot look upon the light you gave them. So it's just reminding us this is what we do, and we can get out of that. Right? Because it says you're sleeping. Right? And then here's that idea that repeats itself again in paragraph 13. And yet the laws of love are not suspended because you sleep. Okay? And you have followed them through all your nightmares and have been faithful in your giving, for you were not alone. Even in sleep has Christ protected you, ensuring the real world for you when you awake. In your name he has given for you, and given you the gifts he gave. God's Son is still as loving as his Father, continuous with his Father. He has no past apart from him. So he has never ceased to be his Father's witness and his own. Although he slept, Christ's vision did not leave him. And so it is that he can call unto himself the witnesses that teach him that he never slept. All right? The poetry of that. All right? You are at home in God, dreaming of exile. All right? Another place he'll tell you your other life continues. Even though you are sleeping, you think you're wandering through this world. Your other life continues. Your connection to God has never been broken. All right? And the Christ in you is saving that memory for you for when you wake up. All right? Because although you slept, Christ's vision did not leave you. It is in your mind. The memory of who you are is in your mind. Okay? And so it is that you can call unto yourself the witnesses that teach you that you never slept. All right? and we can see the witnesses that will teach us that we never left our home in God. Right? That communication with the Father is continuous, and it's in the present moment. It's right now. God's Son is still as loving as his Father, continuous with his Father. Okay, so many beautiful thoughts in this section. Okay, in the present moment. Okay. So, love always leads to love. And he says, the light is in you. He says, you forgot. You don't know it. Yet you will find it through its witnesses. Okay. So let's bring ourselves into the present moment and say, thank you. Thank you for this opportunity. And I'll see you soon. Bye now.